Everyone, Luke here. Hope you're doing well. And today I'm going to talk about Ethereum. Okay, so as you can see in this channel, I've been talking a little bit more about Bitcoin and Ethereum and other various topics like investing, but these things have more to do with health than you may realize. And one thing that fascinates me, what kind of fascinates me about nutritional balancing, okay, is the fact that it's kind of a new science, I feel like, right? It's going to help planet Earth in the future. It's a new system. It's an actual system of healing. It's a system of using scientific analysis to move human beings forward in their development, to make them smarter, healthier, and make better societies, because everyone is on a higher spiritual plane, right? And so these kind of big picture concepts fascinate me. And so this channel kind of represents that, right? And so I've been making more videos about these big picture concepts that aren't necessarily nutritional balancing. And one of these is Ethereum. Now, most of you probably have never even heard of Ethereum, okay, but you probably have heard of Bitcoin. So Ethereum is a blockchain sort of technology that's very similar to Bitcoin, right? So I'll just write that down first. So it's a blockchain. So it's blockchain tech, we'll say. Okay, so it's similar to Bitcoin. And what I mean by that is that it's a decentralized network. There's nodes on the network that run a copy of the Ethereum ledger, okay? But there's some couple major differences that you need to understand, okay? Now, let's go back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as I've talked about earlier, is I think a very important invention, okay? And it's something that is very useful for money, okay? If you look at its fundamentals, in a lot of ways, it might be the best money that's ever been created, okay? But Ethereum kind of builds on some of the similar principles, but it does some different sort of very interesting things, okay? So it's a blockchain tech similar to Bitcoin, and that it's a decentralized network. But the main difference with Ethereum is that it's programmable, okay? So what we would use to describe this is it's Turing complete. Okay, so it's Turing complete. This is basically just a way to say that you can run any program on the Ethereum network. So what does this mean? This means basically that Ethereum is much more limitless as a network compared to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is deflationary in nature. It's decentralized, it's scarce, it's easy to do all these sort of things, so it's very good at money. Ethereum, because it's fully programmable, means that you can build decentralized applications, decentralized sort of networks within the Ethereum blockchain itself, because it's programmable at a base level, okay? And so you can do some very, very interesting things, and it's going to create a lot of wealth on planet Earth, I believe, because it's going to reduce friction in the marketplace. So the main thing that you can accomplish with this programmability is something called smart contracts. And the possibilities with these smart contracts are basically limitless. It's hard to even fathom what's possible with Ethereum at this point, okay? So let me give you some examples to help you guys out. So like the solar grid, like the energy grid. You can basically make it so the solar panels, okay, are talking to each other through the Ethereum network, right? So they're sending each other ether, they're sending each other micropayments, okay, and it's a way for basically to make the grid, a decentralized grid using solar power and batteries, smart. And so the solar panels are talking to each other through machine code and paying each other tokens that represent energy, right? For example, instead of having solar panels, if it's part of a grid, right, it's not very efficient a lot of times to get solar energy from one place to another, right? So let's say you have houses in a network, okay, and they're all connected through the energy grid, okay? So sometimes it's hard to get solar energy power to the other place in the grid, right? Energy transmission isn't always that efficient, okay? But instead, if the whole network is connected to like an Ethereum type network, then they can all have they can all be connected through this blockchain. Okay, and instead of sending each other energy, they can send each other like tokens that represent value. Okay, they can be redeemed on the other side. Okay, for whatever asset. Okay, so it's like a way for the grid to talk to itself. Okay, this is true for machine-to-machine payments. Okay, so for example, your fridge could have a mini little processor that's mining Ethereum. Okay, and then it's talking to all the other smart devices in your house. Okay, and it's a way to build decentralized applications. Okay, so honestly, thinking of it as money isn't even the best use case. It's best if you think of Ethereum as a kind of Web 3.0, and it's a decentralized web. Okay, so when like Facebook, for example, so we'll put that as our fourth thing. We'll call them dApps. This is just decentralized, basically, applications. Decentralized application is all it stands for. So let's imagine Uber. Okay, so with Uber, there's a company, there's an intermediary, right, where you're in a contract with the intermediary to provide a service to the buyer, right? There's a seller, you're selling your time as an Uber driver. There's the intermediary, that's like the escrow, and then there's a buyer, right? So that's really the main use case of Ethereum is working as an escrow agent, okay? So instead of having Uber, where you sign up with Uber, and then all your information goes to Uber, Uber gets your payment, and then they give it out to the buyer, whoever is contracting you for you to drive, basically. Ethereum could do all that. So instead of having an Uber, you have a decentralized Uber. That's basically all it is a smart contract. You put yourself onto the Ethereum blockchain, people find you, you and the buyer enter into a smart contract that gets fulfilled once you fulfill your duty and drive them to wherever they want to go. And basically the Ethereum network is itself working as Uber, and so there's no point in having the Uber company anymore because the Ethereum network is acting as the escrow through a smart contract. Okay, so that's true for a lot of things. Like for example, like there's bed and breakfast services. What is it called? I forget what it's called. Where people rent out their living space. It's like decentralized rentals. Okay, all that can be done through smart contracts, and so it's going to disrupt a lot of industries that are done peer to peer. And then there's a company in the middle that has to facilitate the transactions. All of a sudden, there doesn't have to be a company or someone in the middle acting as an escrow agent. All these can be done through smart contracts peer-to-peer. So instead of me contracting with someone through Uber, I contract with someone, just us, with the Ethereum network in between, entering into a smart contract. And it's all done through like our cell phone. You know what I mean? And so it's very revolutionary, these things that you can do. It's actually quite incredible. Okay. So other things you can do, like decentralized organizations, okay? You can actually have like charters and corporate files on the Ethereum blockchain. You can have it so all your employees are paid out automatically through Ether, okay? Instead of like having to worry about payroll every 2 weeks or something like that, you can basically just have automatic payrolls through smart contracts and like all these crazy things that you can do. And it's basically like limitless. Like you can't even think of like all the things that are possible using these sort of smart contracts. It's going to be really big for trading, I feel like. Trading between companies and nations, okay? So you can actually, because the blockchain is open source, you can, and it's open, okay, you can actually see what's going on the network if you choose to, okay? You can be anonymous as well if you want to, but if you want to, you can see. It's basically like an open ledger anyone can see. And so you can have trade agreements that are on the network running through smart contracts. So let's say that Taiwan wants to sell 50 tons of fish to Brazil in exchange for 30 tons of sugar cane. Sugar cane, okay? Cane sugar. They would enter into a contract with each other, okay? And then when the contract got fulfilled, so when Taiwan shipped their ship their product to Brazil and they received it, the contract would be fulfilled, and then Taiwan would be paid out. Again, so companies will do this too, and they'll be trading commodities on Ethereum using smart contracts. Okay, so so instead of having a private ledger, okay, where people are trading, it'll be a public ledger that makes it much cheaper. So one of the major things that Ethereum does is just makes it much cheaper to trade assets on the blockchain compared to how it would be done normally. Okay, there's a cost involved, right? So it makes things much more liquid. Going back, like with companies that can do that, countries can do that, there's a lot of different use cases. It's actually somewhat incredible. But yeah, you can make decentralized Facebooks. So like Facebook and YouTube right now, they can be censored, right? So you can make a decentralized YouTube or a Facebook where the Ethereum network basically makes it so it's uncensorable, okay? And so everyone could be posting, and then there'd be no admin, okay? The admin would be the smart contract. It'd be code saying, now you can make, now whoever created it could write the code however they want it, saying, okay, you can't, for example, the code could say, you can't post videos of pedophilia, right? Or something like that. But other than that, it could be uncensorable, right? And they'll even have open networks where you can basically post whatever you want, for better or worse. But you'll see, I think, with a lot of these things that human beings agree upon certain morals, and the sort of thing will be frowned upon, even in sort of these decentralized networks, okay? But it's very important for censorship. We're seeing a lot right now on Facebook and YouTube and these sort of platforms. They're censoring alternative news. And using things like Ethereum and building these similar networks on a decentralized sort of network that can't be censored, you can make Facebooks and YouTubes and Twitters that are uncensorable, okay? And they're just peer-to-peer. And the only law is whatever the code is, okay? The code becomes the law instead of whatever, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't get to decide who sees what, okay? The code decides who gets to see what. And then the community using using the platform get to decide what is or what can or can't be shown, okay? So it makes it much more democratic. No one is in charge of these networks, okay? It's going to be very powerful for payments. Okay, so it basically, using this technology, they're going to build layers on top of it, and we're going to live in a world where payment costs basically go towards zero, okay? So, for example, right now it costs a certain amount of money for you to use PayPal or your Visa card, right? If you use your Visa card, I think it's like 3% plus 30 cents or something like that. Well, that's PayPal. But there's still a cost even for when you swipe a debit card, the merchant has to pay a merchant fee every time they accept a payment from a Visa card. With Ethereum, you can basically make these payments zero. So Ethereum, similar to Bitcoin, can actually act as a payment channel. Okay, what I mean by that is that it actually would be cheaper, instead of if I have dollars on a debit card and then I pay you dollars to a debit card to you, and you get a fee, it actually would be cheaper right now if those dollars went onto the Ethereum network, okay, and then the merchant received the money through Ether and then converted it back into dollars, okay? So it reduces friction even between fiat currencies. And so it's very powerful for micro payments and micro transactions. So Ethereum all of a sudden makes it possible where I can pay you a half of a penny or a quarter of a penny or any small amount using payment channels, okay? So the use cases for this are pretty cool, right? Because right now it's not very feasible for me to buy something for 5 cents on the internet. But now, all of a sudden, you can build a web browser and you can choose which ads you want to see, and you can pay half a penny to see an ad, or a penny, or 5 cents. Or let's say the New York Times does an article, right? And you just want to read one article. You don't want a monthly subscription. And it's probably fair to, for one article from the New York Times, it might be fair to charge me 25 cents. But you can't really do that with existing debit cards because it's too expensive. So right now, it could be a case where, okay, New York Times, I want to read this article, I'll pay you 25 cents through Ethereum payment channel embedded into the browser. So you can build decentralized browsers that are using decentralized payment channels to pay advertisers, and you get to control what you want to see, and you can control how much you want to pay. Okay. Now this is true for even musicians. There's gonna be musician networks where right now there's a record company, right? And for a musician to sell their CDs or something like that, they have to go through a record company most of the time, and the record company gets a cut. With Ethereum, you can have cryptographic proof, right, of your music on the blockchain or connected to the blockchain. If you have full control of your work, you get to control who downloads it, and then you give it through decentralized applications. The people can buy it directly from you, and you can deliver your content through the Ethereum network for how much you want to charge. And you get to control how your content is downloaded, and it takes out the middleman. So one of the big themes of Ethereum is that it's just taking out the middleman in so many use cases. The music industry, like Twitter and like social media platforms, things like Uber, taxi driving, all these trade agreements between nations, between companies that have trade agreements with each other. You can do decentralized gambling, right? So instead of there being an intermediary, we just enter in a smart contract to play blackjack or Texas Hold'em or any number of, casino type games. Okay, you know what I'm saying? There's just so many, and this is just a few possibilities. There's so many more. You can just use Ethereum as money. You know what I mean? Ethereum right now is scaling a lot better than Bitcoin, and when people need a way to transact with each other, Ethereum might be the one that takes over, because it's easier right now for me to transact with you through Ethereum, because transaction fees are smaller. Okay, so it's also a unit of exchange right now. But the best way to think of Ethereum, I think, is it's basically Web 3.0. It's basically rebuilding the internet, decentralized. Okay, so things like Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, all these things can be built in a decentralized way. It's reducing friction in the marketplace. So the last thing, talking about reducing friction, the last thing I'll talk about is assets, okay? So you can have tokens on the network that represent assets. So for example, for me to send you gold right now would not be very efficient, right? If I want to send you $5 of gold, I can't really do that, right? But there's companies now using the Ethereum network that hold gold. So there's a company called, I think it's Digex, and other companies are doing this as well. They hold gold in a vault. So it's a Brinks fully secured vault that's audited, and you can see how much gold they own, okay? This physical gold is converted into a token on the Ethereum network. So with the Ethereum network, because it's fully programmable, you can create tokens that basically represent assets, okay? So this company, like I said, has gold. They turn it into a token on the network. So we can say one gold token represents 1 gram of gold, okay? And then using the Ethereum network, I can send you this token, and then you can choose whatever you want to do with that token. You can either spend it to someone else using your gold, and then that token can be fully tracked, and it can be, like I said, the gold is fully audited, so you know that token actually represents 1 gram of gold. And then all of a sudden you're using Ethereum as a payment network to send people gold, and all of a sudden it is possible to send you $5 worth of gold. I can send you 50 cents worth of gold, or I can send you $100 million worth of gold using Ethereum blockchain. And what Ethereum is going to create is an ocean of liquid assets, you guys. So right now markets aren't as efficient as they could be. But all of a sudden, if you convert all these assets into tokens that can trade with each other, these tokens can be converted into other tokens automatically through smart contracts. So I could take my gold token, turn into dollars through decentralized exchange. You'll be able to exchange different cryptocurrencies for other cryptocurrencies. And assets is not only gold and silver and stuff like that. It's titled to property, capital asset, knowledge. Okay, for instance, you could cryptographically ensure that you have control over a copyright. Okay, as it's on the blockchain. And like I said, it's going to create this ocean of assets that can be almost frictionlessly exchanged with each other. So right now, I have to take my gold and I have to go to a physical place, and then they charge me like 5% to get dollars back. All of a sudden, I can convert my dollars into Ethereum, for like 0.25%. I can convert it into gold for basically nothing, and then I can send anyone gold for basically nothing, and they can convert their gold into Ethereum or dollars for basically nothing. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, the whole marketplace just becomes so much more liquid. You can do escrow. So Ethereum could also do like title to property. So basically, instead of having an escrow agent, I just enter a smart contract with a person, and then send them title to property. And then once I perform and they see that they have title, and then they perform basically and pay me for the title, it gets released from the smart contract, and all of a sudden in their account they have title to the piece of property. There's companies that are decentralizing like the MLS access. So for instance, right now, how you find a piece of property is through a realtor, and they have basically a monopoly called the MLS on where they can basically show properties. It's just like a database that has pictures and stuff. You can decentralize that. And so it's going to reduce a lot of friction in real estate. All of a sudden, people are going to be trading real estate to each other much more easily, peer-to-peer, okay? It goes on, and I could just keep rambling on about this, on and on and on. But the gist of it is that it's a very powerful technology. It's Web 3.0. It's going to decentralize a lot of things, reduce friction in the marketplace, and it's very, very powerful. And there's many use cases I haven't thought of yet, other people haven't thought of yet, and it's going to it's like the internet. This is like Ethereum and Bitcoin and some other things, like this blockchain tech is it's like the beginning of the internet, and it's going to create incredible use cases, and I think it's going to help a lot when the banks collapse. I really do think the banks are going to collapse and the fiat currencies are going to mostly go away, and the people, they're going to need a way to transact with each other. Gold and silver are cool and they're good stores of value, but they don't work very well for peer-to-peer transactions. All of a sudden, using Ethereum and Bitcoin and things like that, we can trade with each other peer-to-peer, basically just using our cell phones or debit cards or whatever seamlessly for basically nothing, okay? And it's very, very powerful for planet Earth. And I think that everyone is underestimating what this actually represents, okay? And I highly encourage you check it out, read about it, see if you're, agree with me or disagree with me. It's a complicated tech, so it takes time. It's very abstract, and like it's called Ethereum, right? It's almost ethereal, some of the concepts that you can do with it, right? But learn about it. I have invested quite a bit of money into Ethereum because I really believe in it, and I believe it's going to change the whole financial landscape. And I'm seeing some network effects build as more and more companies are using Ethereum. It's all open source, so companies are experimenting with the tech and trading with each other and building commodity exchanges, and they're building machine payments they're building a whole Web 3.0 sort of decentralized infrastructure, okay? And I think we're really at the cusp of where it really starts to take off. And as you see the banks start to fail, and you see the fiat currencies, and you see more hyperinflation in nations like Venezuela, it's already happening, and things like that, all this money is going to flow into these kind of blockchain techs, and it's going to represent power to the people, and it's going to represent ability for me to take complete control of my assets and trade as how I want them, and to transact peer-to-peer with anyone around the world for basically free, okay? That's it. I've rambled on long enough. Hope you enjoyed the video. Buy some Ethereum, buy some Bitcoin, experiment with them. Don't put your life savings into them. Buy precious metals as well, to protect yourself. And learn about it, keep learning, learn how to use it. You can use a lot of this stuff. If you're watching this, you run a company, you need to learn about this stuff right now, because it's going to revolutionize business and how business is done between everyone, okay? That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later.